Hey everybody. I'm not in my car. I'm in my living room. I'm sitting on my couch, and yes, I cover my couches because it's cloth, and I'm traumatized from coming to America when that family got off the couch with the Soul Glow juice. Yeah, I use hair oils and hair grease and stuff. My kids are greasy. I'm greasy. So I cover my couches, and when company comes, I take it off. Anyway, that's none of your business. That's mine. So I'm off today, and yes, my hair is a mess. I'm giving you the natural. This is what it looks like. It's in the hair net. I'm not trying to look cute for nobody because I's married now. Okay. So this is episode 7. I named it Doctors and the Fat Bias. If you haven't picked up on the trend, I get my topics from situations that happen in my life, and being a fat person, this is something that's real. Biases that doctors have when they're dealing with fat patients, especially fat black women patients. So I say fat a lot. Fat to me is not a derogatory term. You can call me fat. You just can't call me ugly. Fat and ugly are not the same things. Okay. You could be fat and beautiful. You could be fat and ugly. You could be skinny and beautiful, and you could be skinny and ugly. So when people say, "Oh, you so pretty for a fat girl," what does being fat have to do with pretty? Anywho, I like fat just like I like black. I like fat. I don't like overweight. I don't like any of the other terms that people use. I like fat. Fat to me is not a bad word. Like some transsexuals don't think tranny is derogatory. I, as a fat woman, do not think fat is a bad term. Okay? So I say fat. If it offends you, then please remove yourself, because these are my videos about what's in my head. And if you don't like what I'm saying, then you start your own video where you talk about the same topics and you change fat for overweight. But here at Eared Static, we say fat. So, to get started, doctors and the fat bias. It's real. I've had interactions with many doctors. I'll give you a specific situation that happened to me. I've had irregular periods my whole life, painful periods where I couldn't even go to school on the first day because it was so bad, popping pills just to function, going to doctor's appointments and being told that my periods are heavy because I'm fat, overweight. My BMI was too high. Never really took the time, these doctors never really took the time to try to find the cause of these heavy periods and these heavy pains. And I'm going to be transparent. These were male doctors, male white gynecologist doctors. So I was going to the same GYN for a couple years, and then when I went to go get my annual, I was told that they no longer took my insurance, so I couldn't go there. So I was on the hunt to find another GYN. So I found a GYN, and she was a nurse practitioner. It was very hard to find a doctor with open appointments, but I found an NP, nurse practitioner. So at this point, I'm 32 years old. Go to her, and she sees my face, right? She sees this, right? She sees this. I shave these, but if I don't, it goes all the way down. So she sees this, which is growing in. She sees this, and my hair is very long. I cut it, but my hair is extremely long. She sees all of this, and she goes, "Have you ever been diagnosed with PCOS?" And I go, "No, what's that?" She explains what it is to me, and she says, "You have hyperhairism." I can't say it correctly, but it's when you grow facial hair. I two things with PCOS. Your hair either falls out, you either bald, or you grow a lot of hair, right? And it just don't grow here. It grows here, down there, but everything, right? She gives me an exam. And she goes, just by looking at these features, I think you have PCOS. She does an exam. Hold on, guys. Okay, back again. Sorry. I have to remember to put my phone on do not disturb. I had a phone call. Anyway, what was I saying? So she does an exam and an ultrasound on and shows me my ovaries. So my ovaries have, she shows me hundreds, it looks like hundreds of these tiny little cysts. And she explains to me that these are cysts. That's why it's called polycystic, poly meaning many or more than one, ovarian syndrome. And these cysts are eggs that have matured. They get into this stage where they look like a cyst, and then they're supposed to be released, which triggers your released. And if it's not fertilized, you have your period. There's your 6th grade bio lesson. But when you have PCOS, they kind of stall and they never get released. You never really finish ovulating. You just get to that mature stage and it just stays there month after month, and then you don't get pregnant. So you have a period, you make a lining, but you're not releasing an egg. So you just have these cysts. I'm going to come to why it could be a good thing if you decide to have children later in life. But anyway, all of those little cysts affect your hormones. So when you have PCOS, you tend to have very high estrogen. And so your body balances itself out. You also have high testosterone. My testosterone, when I did my blood work, my testosterone was almost to 300. That's a man. My estrogen was high, but my testosterone was very high. Like I was like, that's what all of this. And if you can see it, I shave it and it's gotten better since I lost the weight, but no shame in my game. I have PCOS and I wax and shave. I have to, or else, y'all be jealous of me. Y'all niggas who can't get your shit to connect. I can. I'm sorry, but I'm more man than you are and more woman than your wife. I'm just everything. So anyway, back to my reason. So this nurse practitioner, female, diagnosed me along with, I guess, the doctor she checks in with, because I think nurse practitioners get a sign off from a doctor, but who was a female. I have PCOS. So she asked me if I have any children. I said no. And then she tells me about the fertility. And I said, yes, I've been trying to have a child for years, like since I got married. I got married at 29. I'm 32 now. I've been trying to have a child. And she, so I go to a follow-up doctor, because this is a nurse practitioner. So I wanted to follow up on a doctor with my PCOS. He confirms that I have PCOS and then proceeds to tell me that I am infertile. Those were his words. Women with PCOS are infertile. That's what he told me. So I make my peace that me and my husband will never have children. I start traveling, spending money, just making myself feel better. And then I go back. I'm 33 now. I go back to the same nurse practitioner for a follow-up and tell her, she's asking me questions, and she asked me again, do you have any children? I said, no, I'm infertile. And then she goes, you're infertile? Who told you you was infertile? So I tell her the story. And the first thing she says is, was it a man? I say yes. She goes, honey, you're not infertile. Did he give you any referrals to a fertility doctor? And I go, no, he just told me I'm infertile. She gives me a list of names to go see a fertility specialist. Where I was working, the vice principal, he became principal. He and his wife had a fertility journey. She had their first child at 50. And he tells me about where to go. So let me tell you something about insurance. So when I first called this place, they asked me, the first thing they asked me, I said, are you accepting new patients? They say yes. The first thing they asked me is, what insurance you have. At the time I had Emblem Health. They tell me that they don't have appointments for 2 years. So I'm like, okay. I go back, I speak to the vice principal, and he goes, well, what do you have? I tell him. He said, why don't you change to this insurance? Because at the time I had my husband's insurance because it was damn near free, right? I switched to my insurance. At the time, it just happened to work out that it was like an open enrollment. So I switched us to the insurance, and I think it's Empire. And I call them again. Are you accepting new patients? Yes. And what insurance you have? I have Empire. I get an appointment a week later. I called maybe 2 months ago, and the wait was 2 years. I call with this new insurance, I get an appointment a week later. That is why. So for Emblem, they took Emblem, but they only took probably a small amount of patients a year. But for mine, it was, yeah, come on in. So I start my fertility journey or whatever, and I have a female doctor, and she goes over my history. She gives me an exam, and she says, well, do you want to wait? Because I believe you should lose 100 pounds first. I will help you with a medical weight loss program, but I think you should lose 100 pounds before you start your fertility journey. And I go, no, I don't want to wait. I'm 32. The time limit for me to even start, 33. I'm getting to the time limit of when you can safely freeze your eggs. And she tells me, well, you have PCOS. You have hundreds of eggs that have been in a form of stasis, meaning because of the level that they were in being matured, they're kind of in a hibernation stage, and they're viable for retrieval. So they could potentially be pulling an egg that I attempted to ovulate with in my 20s, and it's still as fresh as it was in my 20s. Than them trying to mature eggs in my 30s. The science gets iffy, but that is a benefit of having PCOS, is your egg quality and your egg quantity, right? When they do egg retrievals, they can get a lot of them, right? So I go, no, I don't want to wait. So I switched jobs in between this testing and everything that we're doing, genetic testing, checking my husband and his sperm or whatever, giving him a sperm analysis to see if he has any fertility issues or if it's just me. So he comes back fine. I think one collection was 500 million, which is gross. Just to think that 500 million sperm per ejaculate, gross. Anyway, he was good on sperm. Pretty much the fertility issues was with me, because even though I was having a period, I wasn't ovulating. So there was no egg to fertilize. It wasn't coming out, right? So so I said, no, I don't want to lose the 100 pounds. I don't want to wait. And my insurance now gives you 4 tries for fertility. That's in a lifetime. That's not in a year. That's 4 times. Whether it's IUI, which is artificial insemination, they inseminate you with sperm, or IVF, in vitro fertilization, where they collect the egg, remove it, collect the sperm, and fertilize it outside. The cells start to divide, and then they put that ball of cells, because it's not a baby yet, they put that ball of cells in you to attach to the uterine lining and grow the baby. Another quick 6th grade bio lesson. So anyway, me and the doctor agreed to try an insemination first, because it's less intensive. IVF is a lot of shots and hormones and stuff. Is very, very, it's hard. IUI is some shots, but pretty much they monitor you. You got to get your blood taken every day or every other day, so they could track and know exactly when you ovulate to know when to give you a trigger shot, which is a shot that you stab yourself in the butt to make you ovulate. They'll know exactly when you're ovulating, and then they inseminate you hours after. So anyway, long story short, they track me, and because of my PCOS and how my hormones were, when I did my blood test, they said there's no time to do a trigger shot. You have to come in tomorrow. So basically, there's no, thank God for good jobs, because, my job, I'm like, I got to have a medical procedure tomorrow. My husband's job, because he has to provide a sample for the insemination. We go to Connecticut, we have it done, and I don't know, I'm a medical marvel. It works, and I have twins, and anyway, I'm off the rails again, but this is to say that a doctor told me that my periods would be, my painful heavy periods were because I was too fat. Another male doctor told me I had PCOS and I was infertile. And even the fertility doctor wanted me to lose 100 pounds. All of this was to say that my weight problems, majority of it, had to do with my PCOS. I used to hang out with a girl. I'm not going to shout you out, but if you're listening to me, in my high school, we went to middle school and high school together. I'm narrowing it down. Would buy eggnog and drink it throughout the school. Just a carton of eggnog. She ate whatever the hell she wanted. She drank whatever the hell she wanted. And she looked like she worked out and ran track every day. I'm talking about muscular arms, like flat stomach, big boobs, rock hard belly, and ate and drank whatever she wanted to. I would sniff a cookie and gain 15 pounds. So it wasn't like I'm just shoveling food in my mouth and everything like that and whatever. It wasn't that. It was my hormones are out of whack. PCOS leads to insulin resistance. It's just a terrible, terrible, terrible cycle. And PCOS is a woman's disease, so there's not a lot of research on it. Men aren't going to research something that helps women, But anyway, and my fertility journey. To get me to ovulate, I left that out. They gave me Femara. Femara, if I'm saying it right, is a breast cancer medication. And its side effect is it makes you ovulate. Just like Viagra was for the heart, and the side effect was it kept you old and flat dicks hard. So I took breast cancer medication to get pregnant because the side effect is makes you ovulate. So anyway, and I'm really upset about the periods because I suffered for a very, very, very long time. And I didn't have to. Because if I knew or had a diagnosis for PCOS, I would have changed my eating habits. Being insulin resistant, you can help with the symptoms of PCOS by pretty much having a low carb diet lifestyle and not eat estrogen inducing foods like soy milk. I used to drink a lot of goddamn soy milk. I shouldn't have been drinking any soy milk because soy is estrogen. Even though it's plant estrogen, I should have been drinking almond milk. If I had a doctor who had took the time to look beyond my fatness and try to get an actual diagnosis to my problems, I could have saved myself decades of torment and torture from not being diagnosed with something that could have helped me. Even going to the doctor, like doctors have eyes. And why the fuck did I need to step on a scale for you to tell me I was fat? I didn't need to. What is the difference of seeing the scale say 265 pounds or 285 pounds? Nothing. You wanted a number so you could just automatically attribute all of my health problems to my weight, and that wasn't true. The PCOS was causing my weight problems. The weight problems wasn't causing my PCOS. Because there are women with PCOS in different body types. Keke Palmer has PCOS. She doesn't look like me. So it's really sad to think that these doctors with the lack of education in medical school and stuff, I follow this black doctor, and he talks about the fat biases, and he opened his textbook from 2015, which even showed racial bias to where it said like Jews are loud and demanding, black women have a higher pain tolerance. This was in his textbook, and there's not any wording on how to deal with your overweight fat patients and not have the bias to think that fat equals why everybody has health problems. There are people who have diabetes that are not fat. There are people who have high blood pressure and not fat. There are people who have high cholesterol and not fat. And fun fact, every single time a doctor did blood work on me and they were reading the results, they were like, oh, I have nothing. I don't have high cholesterol. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have diabetes. I don't have anything associated with what you are supposed to have by being damn near 300 pounds. Which goes to tell you that me being close to 300 pounds had nothing to do with what I was putting in my mouth. I wasn't eating fried chicken. I wasn't eating cakes. I wasn't eating pizza. I wasn't eating shit. I would eat Chinese food, but I ate chicken and broccoli, and I didn't eat all the rice. I would ask for, my mother was into it, I would ask for like the gravy on the side. I used to do that a lot. The brown sauce on the side. So anyway, where am I at? I'm like really passionate about this. Because a part of me is really sad for being not even misdiagnosed, not diagnosed. And yes, there are health conditions that are associated with your weight. 100%. If you don't have any underlying health conditions and you just have, let's say, binge eating syndrome, which is another thing, which I developed as I got older, which is just that you have no control for maybe a day or a couple of hours where you just are eating and shoving food in your mouth and you can't control yourself. If you have that, or if you're a feedie, or you just eat large amounts of food, a lot of people do it for sexual pleasure. If you're just somebody who just doesn't give a fuck and doesn't watch what you eat, yes, you can get the hypertension, the diabetes and stuff like that. But for a lot of us and a lot of people I talk to and a lot of big people, fat people I know, we aren't eating more food than your average person. We're eating the same foods or even less because we're aware. Go to a wedding. Go to a wedding with fat people and skinny people. The fat people are not running up to the buffet line when their table is called. We're not. We're very aware of how we look. We're very aware what you think about us. So we're not loading our plates up with food and shoving it in our mouths. We're not doing that. Who's doing that? Your Uncle Joe, who played basketball and has no weight problem, is coming back to the table with 2 fucking plates of food. Not your big Bertha is not using her walker to carry 2 plates of food. We don't eat more food. I think a lot of people are big in this country because the quality of our food is overly processed and stuff like that. And I think a lot of that people are big, at least the people I'm around, that are big and fat because of other reasons besides shoving food in their mouths. That's just what I'm saying. Like, I notice that all the time. When I'm around mixed-sized people and it's time to eat, the fat one is not jumping up first. It's just not happening. And if you look at their plates, they're not gorging themselves on food the way skinny people are. Yes, we would like to do that, but we can't. We can't and we won't. So I say this to say, yes, there are health conditions you develop when you are fat, but you can be fat with no health conditions, and I was it. Every checkup now, when I got pregnant with twins, the first thing they asked me to do or suggested that I do was a reduction. And as a woman who had trouble getting pregnant, now has 2 fetuses, and suggesting by my doctors that I do a reduction. If you don't know what a reduction is, they wanted to remove one of the fetuses because I was overweight, morbidly obese, and that it would put my life and the lives of the fetuses in danger, and they recommended a reduction. And I spoke to my mother about it. I spoke to my husband about it. And at that point, I believe I was 280 pounds when I got pregnant. And they told me I needed to suggested that I do a reduction. I talked to my mother and I said, the doctor said I shouldn't gain more than 25 pounds for 2 babies. Any of you ladies who have been pregnant with 1 baby, I guarantee you gain more than 25 pounds. Now, I have 2 babies and was told not to gain more than 25 pounds. When I gave birth, I was 292 pounds. I only gained 12 pounds. And my babies were 6 pounds, 4 ounces, 4 pounds, 4 ounces. So my babies together was almost 11 pounds, and not including the fluids, the placenta, the extra blood. So I technically probably, yes, lost weight while I was pregnant with twins. I didn't gain my weight until my last 2 months. I stayed 280 pounds for my last 2 months, and I carried them 36 weeks and 6 days. You want to talk about somebody who watched every piece of food that went in her mouth because they scared me to death, telling me I should only gain 25 pounds or else I can die, and saying that I should do a reduction. Now, who would I have picked? What kid? How many other overweight women made that decision and reduced the number of fetuses that they had because they were told? They would not. If I was the right weight, they wouldn't say that to me. And you suggested that to a woman who had no high blood pressure, no diabetes, no preeclampsia, nothing. I had nothing even when I was pregnant. Nothing. And you suggested that I should get a reduction because I was 280 pounds. Let me tell you something. This fat bitch rocked that twin pregnancy, okay? Rocked it. Being fat. So ladies, do not let any fucking doctor fat shame you. If you know your body and you're already sickly and you think you should have a reduction, then you do it. But you don't have somebody say that you should have a reduction because a number on a fucking scale and don't want to look at you as a whole person. I said I don't have diabetes. I don't have high blood tension. None of that. But I'm recommended to get a reduction because I'm 280 pounds. That's what pisses me off. So, being a fat woman with PCOS does limit your fertility issues, but for that motherfucker to tell me I was infertile, I wish I could remember who you was and then throw my fucking children in your face, because you evil motherfucker. How many other women are you saying that they're infertile because they have PCOS? You're wrong. You're wrong. That's why everybody should get a fucking second opinion, because you don't know if this motherfucker was absent on Women's Fertility Issues Day in medical school. Okay. Like I said, it's pissing me off because how many other people don't get the proper health care that somebody would get who wasn't overweight or fat, and they just look at you and think you're lazy and disgusting, and then you overeat, and you don't deserve the time or their medical knowledge to try to find any other reason with you that's wrong with you besides you being fat. Just some stats that I looked up on the Google. And this was a Harvard study in conjunction with the Journal of American Medicine. Research, and they did a long study, has shown that doctors are less likely to respect patients who are obese and overweight in a country where 3/4 of the adults are overweight or obese or morbidly obese. So there's more fatties in this country Then there are non-fatties, yet we still have this bias. New angle because my butt got numb leaning on the side. Okay, so anyway, so there's more fatties in America than there are non-fatties, and these doctors still have this bias with obese and overweight people. So there's a non-for-profit run by Novo Nordisk Incorporated called It's Bigger Than Me, and Queen Latifah is a paid spokesperson of this movement, this website, this company, whatever. And their goal is to create opportunities to have an open and shame-free conversation about weight and obesity. And it's an okay, it's very white, but I like what they're doing because yes, the stigma does need to change. Like, know your audience, doctors. We all fat, and you're fat, okay? These doctors are fat. Shit, y'all, everybody's fat. And if you're not fat, you're overweight. I'm off the train again. I had a follow-up visit with my doctor, and she said, you're far away from your goal of 125 pounds. And I said, who? My weight loss goal is 125 pounds? Not me, girl. My weight loss goal is 180 pounds. And she said, but at your height, 180 pounds, you would still be overweight. I said, but I won't be obese. And I won't be morbidly obese. That's a win. That's a win. Overweight, I'll take overweight. When you are morbidly obese for most of your adult life, now you overweight, I'm a supermodel. A good 180, what's that, extra large? I could buy shit in the front of the store in Old Navy. I don't got to walk to the back. Oh, yes. Yeah, so 180 pounds is a win for me. 125 pounds? That scale. You know, with this head, this is a lot of meat. But you see this head on a 125 pound body? With all the skin is loose now. Like, no. I said, not me, girl. Not me. 180 is cute. 180 is cute for me. Real cute for me. That's below 200. I could fit in my husband's sweatpants. 180. Anyway, moving on. So the consequences of these doctors having these fat biases are life and death. It's life and death. It's life and death because for me, I would have continued to believe that I was infertile. That's another issue on women's health. But being told I have PCOS and being told that I'm infertile, and then the fertility doctor telling me I should lose 100 pounds first, I might have never had these children because I know women who are going through IUI right now who are overweight. They're not obese. They're not morbidly obese, but they're not considered regular size either. We're talking 5'6", 160, who are on their 4th or 5th IUI and it didn't work. And they don't have PCOS or anything. So I don't know, the stars and the moons were aligned and it just happened when it happened. But if I had waited to lose 100 pounds, which could not lose 100 pounds and keep it off without the aid of surgery. Couldn't. So I would have to have surgery to lose the 100 pounds and keep it off, and then attempt to get pregnant and have the smaller stomach that comes with surgery and have a small baby, because women who have babies after weight loss surgery, the babies are small. You either compromise the weight loss surgery by stretching out the new pouch of a stomach to have a normal average size baby, or you don't and your babies are small and they're in the NICU. So anyway, I'm glad I listened to myself. I'm glad I listened to my body. when I got pregnant and made the decision to keep both babies, I said, Nicole, we're going to do this. We're going to fucking do this. And the only cheats I had was bagel and cream cheese and fish sandwiches from McDonald's, and I took off the bottom bun. I even made those clear, conscious decisions. I didn't even take a motherfucking Tylenol when I was in pain. I took nothing, right? So I had the conversation with myself that I was not going to gain an exorbitant amount of weight, and my husband never had to go late night and give into my cravings. I never even told him I had cravings because my husband is an empath, and if I told him I had a craving for something, he would go out and go get it, and I did not want to do that because I was scared shitless. They told me I would die because I had a choice to keep both of my children being morbidly obese. So some remedies that you can do if you're in a situation and you feel like you're being targeted or or have a bias against you because you're fat. Always get a second opinion. I got dental work done and got a second opinion. Go to another doctor. Even if you had to pay for it, I don't know what insurance you have, but just speaking to somebody else to see, and don't tell them what the first doctor said. Because you don't know if it's the good old boys club. You go there and act like you're a new patient and you never even saw anybody, and you see if they say the same thing. I needed dental work done. I've never even had a cavity in my life, and then all of a sudden at 38 years old, I had a cavity, and they told me I needed a crown and a root canal and all this shit. And I went to another dentist and didn't tell them shit, and she said the same thing. That's what you need to do. Advocate for yourself. Speak up. I know for me, speaking up is kind of intimidating thing to do, but I was so upset because everybody was telling me to lose 100 pounds, and I said, this can't be it. That I would just question the doctor. They're not God. Like I said, you don't know if they were absent on Women's Health Reproductive Day. You could be a doctor if you're an A student, and you could be a doctor if you're a C- student. You don't know if you got that C- student or that A++ student. You know what I'm saying? They're both doctors. How good of a doctor? Get a second opinion. Speak to people. The internet is a great resource. Facebook has clubs for everything. Find a club. Like if you have PCOS, find a PCOS club. If you a group or club to join, and just put out a question. I was told this, and see what other experiences you get, and always be yourself advocate. When I worked in non-for-profit dealing with people with mental and intellectual disabilities, a main focus of their services was self-advocacy. Now we're teaching these people with mental disabilities to be a self-advocate, and we're not teaching our able-bodied people to advocate for themselves too. So advocate for yourself, speak up, disagree with a diagnosis. You're allowed. You're allowed to disagree with a diagnosis. And if they're suggesting something and you don't like, you don't have to do it. That's all I have to say, guys. Fat is beautiful. Love your fatness. I do. I made a choice to reduce my fatness so I could chase around these twins, but that'll be another video. But if I could stay the size I was and not be in the pain I was in because my body wasn't built to carry all this weight, but if it was built to carry all this weight and my spine was built to carry all this weight, I would still be all that weight because I was still that girl. And I picked that man that y'all wanted who's with me and was loving up on my rolls. Okay? Anyway, later, guys.